Once you have defined the different symbologies that you need for your points, your connection regions, as well as your solids, then we want to start building out the folder path for those symbologies. So I'm going to start with a point, and I want to closely follow what I did with my feature definition path, and I'm going to refer to OpenRoads. And then if I go under feature symbologies and point has to be my first folder. And then beyond that, I can customize it however I want. So I want to follow closely what I did with my feature definitions. So my first folder is going to be point, and then I'll have a stormwater node. And then from there, it's going to be inlets or manholes or existing and so forth. Right, moving over to the connection region symbology, this is going to be a linear feature symbology. So the first folder is going to be linear, and then from there we can name it however we'd like. Typically, you're going to have linear features that are also going to be on a do not construct class or a draft level. So what I will commonly do is I'll create a folder here called constructions or draft, and then I will store all of my different symbologies there for those purposes. So looking here, I actually called this folder Stormwater Z, but more recently I have changed this to start using just draft, and then I'll have a connection region folder that will hold all of my connection region symbologies. And lastly, we have the solid symbologies. So this is going to be a solid symbology, and then we're going to build out the folder path to match what we did with the point. So everything else from solid on will be the same as what we had for the point feature symbologies. All right, now let's look at the element templates. If I look into my DGNlib that I have been working with, my top folder is going to be stormwater, and then beyond that I'm going to have a conduits folder, drainage area, and then I'm additionally going to add this nodes folder next. So if I go back to my spreadsheet, stormwater is going to be my first folder, and then I'll have a nodes folder, and then from there I'm going to try to match what I did with the feature definitions and symbology pathing. Now beyond this, we're also going to have a plan, profile, and then some sort of 3D folder. So that could be just 3D for head walls where we only have a bottom element template, or for like inlets and manholes we'll have two separate folders. We'll have a top 3D and a bottom 3D. So starting with a plan, so if we want to have a separate plan cell to represent each one of these features, then we're going to have a separate plan element template. And this goes back to what I was explaining about the point symbologies. So if you wanted to have something more generic where you just had one cell to represent all of your type Bs or one cell to represent all the type Cs, then we can reduce this list and reuse them. But in my example, I'm going to have one plan cell per feature. And then I'm also going to specify, in addition to the cell inside of this element template, I'm also going to point to a level that it's going to be plotted on. And I'm going to do that for my existing features as well. For my profile element templates, this is only going to control what level the element's drawn in profile. It's not going to allow me to hook up a cell at this point, so there is really no reason to have separate element templates in this case. So I'm just going to have one profile element template to use for all of my inlets that are all going to be on P inlet or P drain inlet level. And then I've also done that for my existing ones. Right, now moving over to my top and bottom element templates. This is where I'm going for inlets and manholes or anything where I have a top and bottom cell. I'm going to have two separate folders to house these top element templates and bottom element templates. Whereas for head walls and outfalls, as well as these cross sections, we'll note that we don't have a top element template. We'll only have a bottom element template. So typically I'll store these all in just one 3D folder. So for elements that have two cells, a top and a bottom, I'm going to have a plan profile top 3D and bottom 3D folder that's going to go just beyond this path here. And then for head walls, outfalls, and cross sections, I'm going to have just a plan, profile, and 3D folder.